In this video, we are going to do the problem. A glider at mass 0.25 kilograms travels at 1.5 meters per second in the positive x direction along a horizontal air track. Glider 2 of mass 0.35 kilograms travels at 2 meters per second towards the first glider. They have a head-on collision. Alright, so our initial setup is that glider 1 is headed to the right, so positive x direction, at 1.5 meters per second. Glider 2 is heading towards them, so they can have a head-on collision at 2 meters per second. So that means glider 2 is headed in the negative x direction. All right, they have their head-on collision. After the collision, glider 1 heads backwards at 1.75 meters per second. What is the velocity of glider 2 after the collision? So glider 1 then heads backwards, so now in the negative x direction. And so we have to figure out what glider 2 does. All right, so it doesn't say elastic anywhere in the problem, so we have to assume it's an inelastic collision. They don't stick together after the collision, so that tells me it's just a standard inelastic collision. So I'm going to write out my conservation momentum equation. So m1 v1 initial plus m2 v2 initial is going to equal m1 v1 final plus m2 v2 final. All right, so the mass of my first glider is 0.25 kilograms. I'm going to take that times a positive 1.5 meters per second plus 0.35 kilograms times v2 initial, which is a negative 2 meters per second. All right, mass 1 is still 0.25 kilograms. And since it's heading backwards, we're going to put a negative 1.75 meters per second. And then mass 2 is 0.35 kilograms, and our unknown is v2 final. All right, so now we need to do our math. So I'm going to take 0.25 times 1.5 to get 0.375 kilogram meter per second. Then I'm going to take 0.35 times 2. We have to remember this is negative, so 0.7 kilogram meter per second. And then 0.25 times the 1.75, which is still negative, so negative 0.4375 kilogram meter per second. All right, we can't do anything with that last term. So now I need to add the terms of my left side of the equation. So 0.375 plus a negative 0.7. So that's going to be a negative 0.325 kilogram meter per second. All right, so I'm just writing down the other half of my equation. Now I can add this to the other side. So a negative 0.325 plus the 0.4375, and that's going to give me 0.1125 kilogram meter per second. And then I need to divide by the 0.35. So that's giving me a final velocity of 0.32 meters per second, which means that glider 2 is also going to bounce the opposite direction that it was going originally.